Hey there everyone, Clifton here with Clifton Creative Academy, and in this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to create forms in WordPress using the Gravity Forms premium plugin. Now if you're not familiar with Gravity Forms is strictly a forms plugin that allows you to create any kind of form that you want. Everything from contact form to order forms, donation forms, pretty much an almost unlimited amount of different categories of forms can be created with Gravity Forms. So you'll be able to create a simple contact form like this. You'll even be able to add conditional logic where fields appear based on the selection of the field that you choose, right? Or you can also make fields disappear by deselecting those options as well. Okay, now if you're not familiar with Gravity Forms is one of the most trusted form creating tools out there in the WordPress space. They've been around for a very long time and they have gotten better and better over the years. Now, Gravity Forms only offers about 3 different packages that you can choose from. There is the basic license, a pro license, and the best value license. In my opinion, the best value license is the best option to choose simply because you get all the pro add-ons that go with it. The add-ons are divided into basic, pro, and elite. And this thing allows you to basically be able to integrate Gravity Forms with everything from ActiveCampaign to MailChimp. And if you go to the pro add-ons, you can do things like Dropbox, integrate with FreshBooks, PayPal, Stripe, Trello. And then under the elite add-ons, you can integrate with programs such as Authorize.net. You can do advanced post creation. You can even have a signature add-on, and there's a user registration add-on, and many more add-ons that you can use. But it depends on your use case. If you're looking to just create a simple contact form, then the basic license is enough for you. It allows you to do that on one site, and you do get the basic add-ons, which are actually pretty good as well. So it's still pretty robust. But I typically recommend that if you're going to go with the Gravity Forms, either go with the pro license or go with the elite license so you can get the best value from it. Okay, so now back to our form here. We're going to create a simple form here in WordPress. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and start creating the form. Okay, after you've purchased the license option that works best for you, you will be taken to a page like this where you get a chance to be able to download the Gravity Forms plugin. Once you've downloaded the plugin, you simply need to go to Plugins, Add New, and click on Upload and choose the plugin from your downloads. Okay, so you go ahead and download that. Now I've already done all that and I've already installed the plugin, so the plugin is already in my WordPress install. If you go to the settings of the plugin, it will ask you to include your support license key. Remember, Gravity Forms is a paid plugin. It's a premium plugin, so you need a license key to be able to operate it, or at least get updates and support. Then make sure you set your currency to the currency of your country. In my case, it's the US currency. And then save your settings and you're ready to start creating your forms. So let's go ahead and create our first form. I'm going to go to Forms, click on New Form, and we're going to start with a simple contact form. So I'm going to say Contact Us, Create Form. Once you do that, you'll be taken to this editing screen for the form. And on the left-hand side is where you'll build out your form. You have some little examples here where it's telling you what to do. And then on the right-hand side are all the form fields that are available to you. We have standard fields, advanced fields, post fields, and pricing fields. Under standard fields, you'll find the simpler fields like single line text, checkboxes, drop-downs, and radio buttons. On the advanced fields is where you'll have things like name, time, address, email, file upload. Post fields have more to do with creating posts, so you could create a form that allows you to create posts in your WordPress install. And then pricing fields are for creating order forms. So for our contact form, we just simply need a name, email, address, phone number, and a message, right? So I'm going to go to advanced field and I'm going to select the name field. Clicking on it will immediately populate it to the left-hand side of the editing section here. So we already have our name field here, first name and last name. For every field that you create, there are additional options. So if you click on the arrow here, it'll open up additional options for you where you can choose how you want to configure this name field. So if I want a middle name, I can go ahead and turn this on and the middle name will then be available. If I do not want that, I can turn that off. If I only want the first name, I can turn off the last name and I can keep that on if I want to. Okay, I can also select if I want this to be required. So let's go ahead and make this required. Under the Appearance tab for each field are additional options. So we have here placeholders for the fields. So if I want my first name, I can say enter your first name. Okay. And I can do the same thing for the last name as well. This way you can use placeholders in your form. Okay. If you scroll further down, there are some visibility options and description placement options, but I really want to point your I want to bring your attention to the custom CSS classes option. So if you know CSS and you want to customize this form, the look and feel of this form a little further, this is where you can determine your class for doing that. It's a little bit more advanced for this tutorial. We'll cover that in a later video, but at least you know that that option is there. And the advanced tab for each of the fields that you have, you actually get additional even more options as well. You can set default values for these if you wanted to. But the other thing that I want to bring your attention to as well is there is conditional logic that becomes available with more fields that you have. And we'll explore that a little bit later in this tutorial. Okay, so I'm going to go back here to the appearance and the general here. Okay, this looks good. And I'm going to leave that alone and let's add some more fields. Okay, so I'm going to add the phone number field. And you can also drag and drop fields. So you see I'm dragging that. I can drag and drop that anywhere that I want. Okay, I'm going to add a text box so we can collect an additional message, right? So I'm going to come here. Let me say, how can we help you? Okay, and let's make this required. And guess what? I'm going to also create a placeholder here as well, right? So that placeholder shows up inside of the box as well. Okay, our phone number field, we can also change the label so it doesn't have to stay with the same label that it came with. I can say best, excuse me, I can say best contact number, right? And we can also keep that as a placeholder as well. Under the email field, okay, we can change this to say email address so it's more specific. And put that as a placeholder. Okay, I'm going to make this required, right? You can also enable an email confirmation, which basically allows them to confirm their email in a separate field. Okay. Now, another thing that I want to point out and show you here is if you look at this contact number field, you notice how it is shorter than the rest of these here. If you wanted this to be extended all the way to the full width of the container, just open it up, go to appearance, and here where it says field size, we can change the field size to a large field size, right? And you'll notice that this is now stretched out all the way across, right? I can also do the same thing on all the other fields as well. It's all under appearance, large, okay? All right, so this looks good. So this is a very simple, basic contact form. So I'm gonna go ahead and click update. Now let's look at some of these other settings. So under the settings tab, if you hover over it, you'll notice that there are form settings, confirmation settings, notification settings, and personal data. Let's look at the form settings. So under the form settings, you can make changes directly for this specific form, right? It covers everything from the form layout to whether you want to use a form button or text, right? So if I can say I want an image here, and if I put the image path, it'll have an image for my submit button instead of the text button. I can enable conditional logic, meaning I can say, hey, we'll only have the submit button show up if the person has an email address that matches a certain email address, or if they have a name that matches a certain name, right? So you can do all kinds of conditional logic with this. I'm going to disable that for now because we definitely want to submit our form. You can also enable save and continue, meaning if you have a much longer form, people can fill out information and save as they go. You can limit the number of entries for this form. You can schedule the form, right? We can pick, like, we only want this form to be available from one date to another date, right? And we can also enable anti-spam honeypot. Now what this is just a invisible spam protection tool. It basically creates a hidden field that humans can't see, but the bots that typically fill out these forms sometimes online will fill it out and it will not submit the entry, okay? So let's go ahead and look at a few other important things before we actually populate our form to the website. So here we have confirmation. Under confirmation, you can create multiple confirmations. So the default one says, thank you for contacting us. Now, confirmation is basically what a person sees after they've submitted the form. So if I go ahead and edit this, for instance, you can see that I have some options. I can choose that to have a different text here, or I can add a page, right? I can say I want them to be redirected to a specific page on my website, or I can redirect them to an external URL if I want this after the submission for it to go somewhere else. Okay, for now, I'm just going to leave the confirmation type as text. If we go to notifications, notifications basically covers who do you want to get the notification about this form. So by default, it defaults to the admin of the website. So if I click on here, you can see we have the admin notification, and it's got the admin shortcode. So this will go to me automatically, and you can fill out the additional fields with the name and the reply to and so on. You can even name the name of the form that will show up in your email. Okay, you can also send it to a specific field. So if we have an email field like the email address, right, it can send it there as well. Or you can configure the routing. Now, what's great about the routing is you can send it to a specific email address based on a certain value, right? So I can say send to maybe c@ccw.com if the how to contact you, how can we help you field contains, let's say, the word Jack or help, right? If it contains that word in there in that section, it will route to this email if we wanted to do that. Okay. For now, we'll leave all this alone. We'll cover that a little bit later when we build more advanced forms. I just want to show you the different settings that are available to you. Okay. We can preview our form, right? If we want to take a look at what our form looks like so far. So this is a preview. I basically have my name, email, best contact number, how can we help, and submit. And this looks pretty good. And then the next thing we need to do is basically put this on a page of our choosing, right? So I'm going to close out of the preview. I'm going to scroll all the way down. I'm going to update this notification, which basically will update the form for me. And now we're going to look at how to add the form to the front end of the website so that we can view our form on a page on the website. To embed our form on our website, we basically need either a post or a page to embed it on. It's better to use this on the page, so we're going to look at putting this on a Contact Us page. So I'm going to go to Pages, click on All Pages just to make sure that I already have a Contact Us page created, but if you didn't, just click on Add New and create a new Contact Us page. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this page because I want to put my form on here. So when you go to the Contact Us page, it will load up and it says I have a form already selected. Let's just remove this so we have a fresh page. Now, the latest WordPress uses the Gutenberg editor by default, but you can also use Gravity Forms with the classic editor, and in a later tutorial, I'll show you how to do that. But for this tutorial, we're using the Gutenberg editor, which comes by default with the latest version of WordPress. So what you're going to do here is we're going to search for the Gravity Forms block. And to do that, just click on the plus sign, type in Gravity, and you'll see immediately that the form block embed becomes available. Click on that. It will add it to the page, and then go ahead and select your form. So we're going to be using the Contact Us form, and you can see here that the form is already laid out here on the back end. Everything looks good. Now you notice that we have the Contact Us for the page heading title, and we have the Contact Us for the heading of the form. We can turn that off here on the right side by just clicking on this toggle, which will turn it off, so we don't have that showing multiple times. And if we had a description, we could have turned that off as well. Under the advanced, you can select that you want this to load with Ajax, right? So Ajax basically means that when someone submits this form, the page will not refresh. Everything will happen within the same page, but it will still send the form to the correct person that needs to be notified. Once this is done, go ahead and click on Update for this page. And if we view this page, we should see our form right there on the page, okay? So this looks pretty good. Now you'll notice that on our page here, we have our form. We have the name, email, best contact number, and how can we help you, right? So now the next thing will be, well, I noticed that my page here has a dark outline for the text area, and then it has light outlines for the other text fields. So remember, what we can do here is we can go ahead and edit this form. So I'm going to go here to the form link shortcut in the admin bar here. I'm going to go here. I'm going to click on settings. And you see here where it says CSS class name, I'm going to go ahead and put a class name for myself, which is called contact form. Click on update form settings. And now if we go and we look at the form, now everything looks great. Now, how did we do this? Well, I have some CSS that I already pre-written, and I'll leave that in the description below in case you want to use it as well. But it basically targets these areas and makes it all uniform for me. So by default, everything does come uniform, but if you want to make some styling changes to your form, you absolutely can do that by adding some classes. And maybe in a later tutorial, we'll go over a little bit of CSS on how to be able to do that. But all in all, for the most part, Gravity Form works great immediately out of the box. Let's look at some other great features of Gravity Form. So let's say now that we have this form created, what if we wanted to add some conditional logic? Conditional logic will allow us to show or hide fields based on the input on other fields. Okay, so let's take a look at an example of that. So I'm going to go back here to the dashboard. Okay, and I'm going to go back to our form by going to Forms and clicking on Edit on that Contact Us form. And we're going to drag in a drop-down box. Okay, in this drop-down box, we're going to ask a question. And the question is going to be, how did you hear about us? Okay, and we're going to give them some choices. So we're going to say Google, we'll say TV, we'll say radio, and let's add one more, we'll say a friend. Okay, so Google, TV, radio, and friend. I'm going to make this required because I want to know how they heard about us. And then under the appearance, I'm going to give it a placeholder of select one. If you don't give it a placeholder in the drop downs, it will pick this first option as the placeholder. We don't want that. So we'll say select one, give them a little command there. Okay. Now, I'm going to add another thing that's going to say, let's add a single line text, and we'll have that text say, what is your friend's name? Okay, we'll make this required, and what we'll do here, go to appearance, I'll make this large. What we'll do here is we'll set some conditional logic for this field. I only want this field to show up if the how did you hear about us value is friend, right? So I'm going to click on enable conditional logic, and we're going to say show this field only if how did you hear about us is friend. Okay, show this field only if how did you hear about us is friend. Now that I've set that up, let's go here, and I'm just going to say enter your friend's name. I like putting in placeholders. Just gives me a chance to give additional instruction. Okay, so now that we have that in there, I can close this arrow here. And why don't we make this field the same as the others? We'll make it large. All right. Okay, so now we've added some conditional logic for ourselves. I'm going to go ahead and update this. Okay, and let's take a look at it on the front end of the website. All right. So now we're back to the form, and now you can see that we have the additional field, how did you hear about us? I'm going to go ahead and select Google, right? And you see nothing happens. TV, nothing happens. But if I select friend, I get some additional fields. And the additional field is what is your friend's name, right? So now I can fill in the additional information, hit submit, and the form will then go through and be emailed to the correct recipient. All right. What else can we do in Gravity Forms? Let's look at one more thing that we can do at Gravity Forms. So one more thing that we can do at Gravity Forms that's really nice to be able to do is you can actually turn this into a multi-part form. How do we do that? Well, there is a page option here under the standard fields, and I'm just going to drag this to be under the contact number, okay? And if you notice, it starts paging the form. So this will be the first page of the form. This will be the second page of the form. Okay, and we can add multiple pages, but for this example, we'll only have it at 2. Now let's go ahead and configure what we want for the page. So if I go here and I say I want a progress bar, I want it to be blue, you can choose other colors, or you can even choose a custom color. So let's say I want a custom color, then I can put in a hex color, right? If I want, I can choose a background color, and I can choose a text color. So I can say, hey, I want my text color to be white, which it looks like it's already white right now. So we'll just say white, or white, just to be sure. And let's say I want a background color of orange, like that. Okay. Then you can name the different steps, right? If you don't name the steps, it'll just say page 1 or page 2. Okay. But I can say personal info, and here I can say message, right? Okay, so I've set this up the way that I want it. It looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and update this now. And when we go to our form, and if I refresh the screen, you'll notice now that we have this progress bar that shows 50% filled out, right? So if I go ahead and fill this out now, right? Let's fill this out. Some information. So my information is all in here already. Click next. Wow, now it gives me a chance to be able to fill out the rest. Select my conditional statement. It allows that as well, and so on, right? And I can go back by hitting the previous button and fill out the information the way that I wanted to do it before, okay? So let's look at the form again. So this is the beginning part of the form, and it's now set to 50%. Let's look at one more thing we can do with Gravity Forms, and then we'll wrap up this tutorial, okay? So another thing that we can do is we can also add sections, right? Sections basically allow you to give headings to certain areas. So for instance, now we don't have long enough a form to give headings to it, but let's say that I do want to have headings within my form. So if I look at my form now, it just has name, email address, best contact number, and it says personal info up here. But what if I wanted to be more descriptive? Okay, so what I can do, I can go ahead and grab this section field here. I'm going to drag it right above the name, and I'm going to label this. I'm going to change this to say personal information, or I could say your information, right? This makes my form even more user friendly. Then I can grab another section here. All right, and we can say referral and message. If I click update and I go to the Gravity Forms, go ahead and refresh that now, and you'll notice that now I have some labeling going on, and I can create a pretty nice, well-informative form here, right? So I have some labeling going on. If I fill in my information, click next, okay, referral and message, and so on. So you can see that Gravity Forms is actually a pretty powerful form. In the next tutorials or videos that we make, we'll go into more depth and create more complex forms of Gravity Forms. But I think that anyone who is looking to use forms, it's always good to get a form plugin that is strictly dedicated to creating forms. Some themes and some other plugins have form attachments, which is just basically it has a form as a sub feature. The great thing about Gravity Forms is that this is the primary feature for what it's used for. So I highly recommend using a form like this to basically create any kind of form that you want. All right. Well, thank you very much for watching. If you like this tutorial, please give us a like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can get notified about the future videos that we release. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.